sbagliata, messa fuori, c'è Pirlo, ancora Pirlo di tacco, tiro, gol! Grosso, gol di Grosso, manca un minuto, gol di Grosso.
Hello and welcome to the Milan Talk podcast. I'm your host Samik Paul, and of course today we're looking back at the 1-1 draw with Udinese. Milan down to 10 men after Davide Calabria sending off. Fortunate to come away with a point for me. Suso's sensational strike deserved to be the winner, absolutely no doubt about that, but unfortunately we weren't able to hold on for those 3 points and we had to share the spoils on this occasion. Looking at the positives first, I would say that we did enjoy spells where we were in control of the tempo, of possession, we were creating chances, we looked dangerous, and of course the highlight would have to be Suso's goal and just his general return to form. I think the confidence started coming back. He has been struggling in recent weeks, in my opinion, and to see him get back on the score sheet, be decisive, but on top of that also be our main attacking outlet. Again, everything good came through him, so that was good to see him back on form. But for me, there were a lot of negatives as well. I did see Suso say in his post-match interview that this was one of our best performances of the season. I couldn't disagree with that any stronger. I feel if you're going to compare that performance against with the win against Inter and in recent weeks where we've been picking up results, I don't think this came anywhere close to it. I think ultimately we rode our luck at times. It could have been very different. Going down to 10 men certainly didn't help, but I do feel as though we looked very vulnerable and shaky at the back even before that. The midfield's just getting bypassed too often. Udinese attacking, getting in between the spaces, between the lines, and just being able to attack our backline at will. I thought it was really poor from a defensive point of view, and we did look open to it, and the goal was predictable. We knew it was coming. So for me, a lot of negatives. I didn't think it was one of our best performances, not even close. So again, on the flip side, you could look at the positive and say we didn't lose, we're still unbeaten on this run, and we can march on and hopefully pick up another win next time out. Looking at Suso, manager rating out of 10 first, I'm giving him a 6. As I mentioned there, I just feel like it was too easy for Udinese to break out and attack our back line. The players that we had on the pitch, maybe they could be looked at and say, you should have looked at the situation, read it better. There were obvious weaknesses in our performance, so maybe they should have addressed it as they were going. But for me, it starts with Gattuso and a tactical setup, and he got it wrong for me in that area. Top of that, I feel like he should have brought on Cutrone rather than Kalinic at the end. I think he would have given us a bit more intensity, a bit more energy, maybe lifted us to even go out and get the win, even with 10 men, where I think Kalinic just slotted in, did a job and wasn't really that effective. So 6 out of 10 for Gattuso. I don't think it was one of his finest tactical performances, but again, as I mentioned there, we drew, we didn't lose, so we march on. Onto the player ratings, starting with Gigi Donnarumma. Mixed bag from him. I think he made a couple of really crucial saves, but there were some questionable decisions as well. There was one where he rushed out, looked like he was going to beat into the ball and left in no man's land. Did recover to his credit, but again, it was a bit of a rush to the head for me. He did receive a bit of criticism on the goal, which I felt was quite harsh. The deflection didn't really give him, a chance to get a proper hand to it. So I think it was a little bit harsh to blame him for the goal. But for me, he's been great the last couple of weeks. All that talk and the booing has gone away. I'm not going to start criticising him. I think that's a decent performance from him, so I've given him a 6. Same for Abate, I've given him a 6 as well. I think he's got a pattern of play where he's okay defensively. He'll run and support Suso on occasion whenever he can. Doesn't really affect or influence the game from an attacking point of view. And I think he's using his pace to great effect. Even though he's 31, he still gets back in time to kind of close crosses down and stuff. But too often, too much space, too much time for the opposition on his flank. And I think he's a massive weak link for us. But on this occasion, I'm not going to be too harsh on him. I think he deserves a 6. Bonucci also gets a 6. Didn't deal with Lasagna well at all for me. Looked very shaky. The same applies for both of them, in fairness. I didn't think Romagnoli was that much better than Bonucci in that department, but I'll get to him in a minute. But Bonucci, for me, looked really shaky. Didn't look comfortable with balls over the top in behind. Obviously got a lack of pace. We all know that. But for him, it was just all too panicked and a bit rushed for me. Gave the ball away quite a lot as well, trying to pass it out from the back. So for me, not the greatest performances from the captain. I've given him a 6. I've given Romagnoli a 7. Maybe a little bit generous. But I think he kind of edges Bonucci slightly because I think he swept up a bit more when those balls were played over the top and Lasagna came rushing through trying to get onto goal. I think Romagnoli was there to kind of marshal things a bit better than Bonucci, if you like. So that's why I've given him just a little bit higher than Bonucci. Looked comfortable on the ball, but as a defensive duo, I think they've looked really solid in recent weeks, but this one, I think there was a dip there, and it was a bit disappointing to see. But Romagnoli, still decent performance from him, so I've given him a 7. Davide Calabria, unfortunately, gets a 5. He ruined his performance with that silly second yellow card. That was a really, really silly decision from him. Before that, I thought he was great. Again, he's done really well in the last couple of weeks, even switching him over to the left. I think he was decent defensively. Going forward, he wasn't afraid to get back on his right and whip it in. I was really happy with his performance, but again, the red card simply ruined it, left his teammates in a hole, and it cost us in the end. So unfortunately for him, he gets a 5. Frank Kessie gets a 6. Great shift from him again, as usual. Very tenacious off the ball, working hard for the team. Powerful driving runs with the ball at his feet. What I will say is that I think the midfield as a whole didn't do enough to win the game for us. I feel like they got bypassed a lot. Udinese were getting between the lines, getting beyond the midfield, whether it was on the wings, whether it was through the middle. They were just too easy to get through us, and I think the midfield as a collective should take responsibility for that. But on an individual performance, I've given Kessie a 6 because I think he was very good, so 6 for Kessie. Biglia gets a 5, and for me, a lot of us have been impressed with him. There's a lot of things to like about his game. He's veteran, he's experienced, he brings a calmness. Fairly basic in terms of his passing for me. I think he could be a bit more courageous with it. But in terms of breaking up the opposition plays and providing that defensive shield in front of the defence, he does a good job at that. For me, on Sunday, I think he was terrible. Honestly, I just didn't see what he was doing. The play was just bypassing him time and time again. I didn't think he was that much of an influence in the game. I felt like he was just almost lost at times. And for me, Udinese were exploiting that gap between the defence and the midfield. And that's where Biglia should have been to make sure that there was cover for Bonucci and Romagnoli. I didn't think he did that very well. That's my opinion. Feel free to disagree and let me know in the comments. But for me, Biglia was poor, so I've given him a 5. Bonaventura gets a 6. And again, I might be a bit generous with this one because even though it wasn't the greatest of performances, I think he had his moments and he looked a threat at times. Again, we need him to be more decisive, more involved in our play, going through the middle. He is a hugely crucial figure for us, so we need to see more from him. I didn't think it was a poor performance. I didn't think it was a great performance, so I kind of feel like he's nestled in there somewhere in between, so I've given him a 6 out of 10. On to Suso, my man of the match. He gets a 7 out of 10. A massive relief to see him get back on the score sheet. He's had a real barren run in recent weeks, in months in fact, so it's good to see him get back on the goal, and what a goal it was. Brilliant strike. I had a lot of Liverpool fans flood in the timeline saying that they wish they had him back, but unfortunately for you guys, we have got him, so hopefully this is a sign of things to come. I think, like I said, he's been struggling in recent weeks, but much better performance, brilliant goal. Again, back to being our most effective outlet. The thing we want in reality and ideally is a balance between Suso, Jack and Hakan all playing well, adding that bit of dynamism to the team. We can attack teams from different angles rather than just rely on one person. But if Hakan can maintain his form, if Jack can get that consistency, and if we can get this Suso back, that can only mean good things for the team. So great to see Suso back in form, and let's hope that continues now. Andre Silva, shock starter. I didn't think anyone thought that he'd be back in the Serie A starting lineup ever again, but finally we got a glimpse of him. Sadly, I think I couldn't give him more than a 5 out of 10. Not to say that he was terrible. I think he had his moments. There were glimpses of what he can do, whether it was those really nice little runs, breaking runs, the little layoffs, and the kind of pop shot that he had in the second half was almost a fantastic goal. But I'm afraid he made a mess of that fantastic chance that he had in the first half. That should have been a goal, and that could have changed the whole complexion for the game, for him, for Milan, for everything. So for me, that was a really big missed opportunity. And I don't want to be too harsh on him. I feel like you're going to chuck a player in for the first time in months in the league. Yes, we paid a lot of money for him, but it's got to be very, very difficult for him to just come in and immediately deliver. That is the name of the game, so we can't make excuses. He has to take his opportunities when he comes in. But for me, I don't want to be too harsh. I think it's very difficult for a player to come in and make a massive impact when he's been out of the squad and out of the team for so long. So for me, 5 out of 10, and hopefully this isn't the first and last time we see Silva back in the starting lineup. So we'll see how he gets on. Hakan, to round things off in the starting 11, I've given him a 6 out of 10. I think he played well in the first half. He did show the ability to create, getting involved in play. A little bit sloppy at times, but there was still enough positives to take away from it to give him a 6. Definitely tired in the second half before he got taken off. I think he wasn't involved as much as he had to be. We needed more from him, but a decent enough 6 for Hakan for me. Onto the subs. Antonelli gets a 6. I think he just came on to give that cover on the left flank after Calabria sending off. Did a decent job. Didn't particularly do anything stand out, I don't think, but worked well and kind of nullified Udinese's threat down that flank. So for me, decent enough 6. Kalinic also gets a 6. In his defence, he showed the right approach. He came on with the spirit, the determination to kind of work hard, run down the channels. Wasn't really much of an opportunity for him to get too involved, but with the long balls upfield. But he did chase. He worked hard. Probably should have done better with that header he had that went wide. I think he maybe should have got better contact on that, but again, didn't. So we can't say much about that. I will reiterate my point earlier, though. I do feel as though Cotrone should have been the man coming on. I think at that stage of the game, we needed, that kind of inspiration, that intensity up front to kind of lead from the example from the front, filter through to the rest of the team and give us that sort of belief that we can go out and win a game. For me, if you're the other 10 men on the pitch, 9 men on the pitch, whatever, if you're seeing Kalinic come on, I don't feel as though it lifts you as a player. For me, I might be completely wrong, but for me, he just slots in and does a job. If they saw Cotrone come on with that fire, with that determination, I feel like he could have lifted everyone and given us a good chance going on to even winning the game. So for me, that was a bad choice. But Kalinic, give him a 6. Barini came on too late to really give him a rating, but again, similarly, chased things down, worked hard off the ball, and put pressure on Udinese. So credit to him for coming on and doing a job, but no rating for him. On to your Twitter comments. Joey at jgallo518. Joey wants to send Silva to China, which is a little bit harsh for me. I think we do need to give him more chances, but as I mentioned, he has to start taking them. If he gets a start in the Europa League, for example, next week, then he has to score. He has to get on the score sheet or at least be decisive in the game. So I'm not quite packing his bags for China yet, Joey, but yeah, I see where the frustration lies for sure. Jmart at Jmart2075. Kalinic again does nothing but waste clear chances. Yes, I would have to agree with you. Like I said, that header, I did feel as though he got there first. He rose high enough to get there. He had good contact. Should have got it on target at least, but didn't. So, again, Cotrone on, taking that chance. Who knows, maybe a different story. So, definite frustration there with Kalinic. Joseph Bacciglieri at Joe Bacciglieri. Thought Silva was fine. Abate is simply bad. The thing that is worse is our marking in the box and set pieces and air balls. Biglia looks lost. Very difficult to disagree with anything you said there, Joe. Silva, again, I didn't think he was fantastic. I didn't think he was desperately poor, so he was fine. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Abate does a job, but, for me, Conte comes back. That's the last time we're going to see Abate in the team, so fingers crossed that comes sooner rather than later. And, the marking in set pieces and in corners is atrocious. Every time there's a set piece, I'm always sitting on the edge of my seat thinking the worst. So, yeah, agree with that. And Biglia looks lost, yeah. I'm glad someone else agrees with me. Hopefully, I'm guessing there might be a few more of you, but for me, he definitely this game in particular. Not saying he's been lost the whole time, but this one in particular, I did feel he looked lost. Moz at Mr. GL. Apparently, Lasagna is the second coming of Messi. The way Bonucci is struggling with him. I really hope PSG or some Chinese club take Bonucci off our hands. He's been average at best this season, and because of his name and price tag, he can't be benched. Mars, I get the feeling you're not impressed with Bonucci, and it's a fair point. Definitely earlier in the season, we all had our reservations. I don't think there's any Milan fan that wasn't disappointed with him. He turned a corner, definitely improved. It's a little bit harsh, I would say, Mars. I just think he has done a lot better in recent weeks, and him and Romagnoli have looked pretty solid for me at the back. I know a couple of people have been asking about Musacchio, but Bonucci's done a decent job for me. But this one, definitely, there was just that panic was back, when he was clearing his lines. It's almost when he ever faces a forward with pace, he just panics. He doesn't know what to do. He just needs to get the ball clear as quick as possible. So definitely a step back for him. So yeah, I see where you're coming from with those comments. At MD Coop 3, picking on our conversation from last week, we'd like to see Locatelli in this match. Believe he's a better matchup for Udinese's intensity and physicality in midfield. 100% agree with you there, Miles. Like I said during the game, just constantly thought Biglia was just the play was just breezing past him time and time again. I just didn't feel as though he had the energy, the pace, the intensity, like you said, to have an influential sort of impact on the game. So definitely agree with you there. I think Locatelli would have been a much better choice in this particular game, but Gattuso seems to be settling on Biglia, and we'll have to hope that he does better. Shreyas at 3x4 Artista. This squad has so many youngsters that we are only craving to make errors like this. Patience is needed. I think that's a reference to the Calabria sending off, which is a fair point, and we certainly need to stick with him. Let's not, make him a scapegoat. He definitely didn't help matters. It made it very difficult for us to take the point away. But yeah, we're gonna have to stick with these. He's definitely played well the last couple of games, so I'm not about to sit here and start slating him. Borri Olademi at Borri Canes. This wasn't a smart move in terms of Kalinic coming on for Silva. Cotrone should have been the choice. We need that pace. 100% agree with you there, Borri. At the Milanisti 11, we would have won that if A, Calabria hadn't committed that stupid foul, B, Kalinic hadn't come on, and Silva was balling, plus Cotrone should have come on alongside him, and C, we didn't start Abate, should have gone for Barini at left back. We need to see more from Silva though. The Milanisti 11's man of the match was Suso, his flop of the match was Calabria, as despite a good performance, he ultimately cost us the win. Very difficult again to disagree with you guys, and especially you Milanisti 11. Calabria, yeah, if he didn't commit that foul, I think we may have been able to dig in and kind of protect that lead, but in all honesty, we did look vulnerable, even with him on the pitch, so who knows what would have happened. Echo your point, as I mentioned, Cotrone should have come on for Silva, or put them two together rather than bringing Kalinic on, and yeah, that seems to be a common theme. Abate, he needs to come out of the team, and hopefully we get our full and top options back as soon as possible. Samir Mohammed at Samir72. Bonucci and Romagnoli had a great partnership. Midfield looked solid. Silva didn't impress me. That goal was cheap. If Donnarumma can't save that, why are we paying him €6 million for? We lost the match because of Calabria. His flop of the match was Jack. He did nothing. And man of the match for Samir was Suso. Samir, unfortunately, I'm going to have to disagree with you on quite a lot of this. I don't think Bonucci and Romagnoli had a great partnership in this one, if that's what you were intending on saying there. I thought they were very shaky for the most part. Romagnoli less so, but I don't think they were solid as they have been recently. Midfield, for me, wasn't solid. I've got to be honest. I feel Kessie did a good job, but as I mentioned with Biglia's player rating, I didn't think he was good enough at all. So the midfield let me down personally. That's just my opinion. And Silva, yeah, I'll go 50-50 with you on that one. I think there were moments that he did well, but yeah, I certainly see where you're coming from. Again, with Donnarumma, I think that's harsh. I think he bailed us out a couple of times previous to that. He's done well in recent games, and with that deflection on the goal, I think it's kind of harsh to kind of blame him for that. So for me, not going to stick the knife in on Donnarumma on that one, but we're all entitled to our opinions. That's absolutely fine. And then to end things, Troy Vaughan at Heart Sand. Poor performance, but expected a draw. Man of the match for him was Suso. Flop of the match was Donnarumma. Could argue Calabria, flop of the match, but Donnarumma gets paid €6 million a year, so more is expected out of him. Again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is a genuine theme that you all agree on, but for me, a little bit harsh on Donnarumma. I think the deflection definitely took it away from him. Maybe he should have got a stronger hand to it. Yeah, I will take that on board, but I think it's a bit harsh considering the save he made previous to that. I think we can give him a pass on that one. I think it is a bit harsh for me to blame him for that, but that's a fair enough opinion to have. So guys, please leave your comments below. I feel like this is going to be a contentious one. I think there might be a few disagreeing with me, but as always, I'm more than welcome your comments. As long as you keep it respectable, I'm always happy to engage with you and reply back to you. So look forward to hearing your thoughts on the game. Until next week though, that's it for this one. So speak to you soon.